Welcome back for another episode of Branching Out with Sierra. In today's episode, I'm going to be speaking with Noelle Callas, who is the founder, the owner of Super Splasher Aquatics here in Winchester, has done so much within this community. I can't wait to have her share with you guys what she's been up to over the past 15, 20 years. She's very passionate about what she does, and I think that will shine through. But I think she's also sharing something that really will empower you to be a more effective leader in a way that maybe you haven't thought of before. So today's episode is called Breathe, Float, Lead, the leadership tool you didn't know you needed, with Noelle Callas. Welcome. Thanks for coming today.
Thanks for having me.
It's your first time in the new office.
It is. I love it. It's cozy. It's perfect. It suits you. So
thank you.
Wonderful.
No, it's great to have you here today. We haven't spent a lot of time together in a while, so even if it's recording a podcast,
I'll take it.
Great time to catch up. So can you share a little bit about yourself with our listeners? Where are you from? What are you passionate about? And what brings you here today?
Sure. So I'm a local kid. I grew up in Clark County. Have lived in Virginia most of my life. Moved to Stephen City. I'm married. I have 2 kids. I have 2 teenagers, actually, both at Sharando. I am, swimming has been a pivotal part of my life forever and ever and ever. It still is. It's part of my kids' lives. But I love living here. I've moved away a couple times, and somehow we've always made it back to this area. We have water nearby. I think that's a big part. Mm-hmm. The beach is close. But yeah, I just stay busy with the kids and running the business. And we have 3 Frenchies now at home too. So, life's pretty busy, but it's great.
And a Bronco.
I did. I'm a Jeep girl. I've been a Jeep girl my whole life. Sadly, I had to get rid of my most recent Jeep because it was just not great. And I tried the Bronco and I love it. And so now I'm a Bronco girl.
Yeah, I saw it online, but I looked out the window and saw it. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
It fits you so well. Like a car has to match a person.
Yeah, well, so it's interesting. Something else about me is I am a Sagittarius,
okay.
Which, if you're a Sagittarius, then you must be adventurous because I'm always seeking adventure in my life, whether it's through my business or through getting involved with whatever my kids are doing. But I love to travel, and something I have found as an adult are a group of women who love traveling and adventure as much as I do. And so we go on these trips, which we're actually leaving for Iceland. I'll be in Iceland this time next week.
Wow.
But when I decided to get rid of my Jeep, I went back and forth for a long time about what I was going to get. Mm-hmm. I knew I was probably going to hang up the Jeep keys probably for a while, if not forever. And I thought, do I need a luxury like SUV, something I can cart all my swim stuff around in, get my kids, soon both my kids will be driving. But I couldn't move past the fact that I loved like throwing my kayak in my car or I'm always in a bathing suit or, I couldn't move past that. So I needed something that screamed adventure as much as I felt it in my soul.
Yeah.
So the Bronco fits me to a T. It really does. It's like everything. It's rugged. It's not fancy. It's not, it doesn't have a lot of bells and whistles, which I love about it. That's, it screams me. And, for those of you, for the listeners who have, ever known, my original Jeep as a swim school owner was this vibrant blue color. And so I am bringing some of the blue to my Bronco. So be on the lookout for that because.
Oh, now I'm excited. I'm on the edge of my seat. I can't wait. Well, I know that you didn't get to share a lot about what Super Splasher Aquatics is and what you do there. But as you're sharing that, I'd like to know what inspired you to even start the business to begin with. So your why behind the business. Can you share that with us too?
Yes. So I've been around water my whole life. My mom exposed me to water at a very young age, which I think helped me I'm so comfortable in and around the water. And so one of my first jobs as a kid was to be a lifeguard, right? Like every teenager's dream job is to be a lifeguard. And my boss had a rule that if you were going to be a lifeguard, you were also going to teach people how to swim. Okay. It was just part of her job. So I became a WSI through the Red Cross. I was 16 and discovered then at that age that I was really good at it. And I always knew I loved being around kids. I've always been good with kids. So I did it all through high school and college. And then, grew up like we all do and had to get a real job. And then through some, I say, once upon a time, I would say unfortunate circumstances, but now I like to look at them as probably the most fortunate circumstances I've ever been faced. I lost my job and decided I didn't want to go back to commuting, far away to make money. I had a kid at the time, and so I decided I was going to find the thing that brought me joy, and that was, I remembered looking back on my life, the times I was the happiest was when I was teaching people how to swim. So I took a big jump, took a big leap of faith.
Adventurous, right?
Yes, there you go. And decided that I was going to teach people how to swim, and that's how it all took off. And I have found I'm one of the lucky ones because I am truly doing something that I love to do that much. So that's how it all started.
I'm so happy for you. And that's what I said at the beginning about your passion for it. It shines through. When somebody's doing what they're supposed to be doing, you know it. How many years have you been in business now?
So I just entered year 16.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And I'm sure it's changed a lot over time. Your vision from the very beginning, I'm sure it's morphed many times. So can you give the listeners an idea of what a typical day in the life of Noelle might look like between the business, the kids, pool management side, volunteering?
Yeah. Yes. So in addition to my swim school, we also have a pool management company that runs seasonally from, our seasons run Memorial to Labor Day. And so that obviously my summertime is a little crazier than most other times of the year. But my day starts pretty early. I'm an avid runner, cyclist. So I like to get up and start my day pretty early. Between juggling, I want to be in the water as much as possible, but obviously juggling that. My kid is in the band at Sharando, which if you're from this area, it's crazy being a band student at Sharando. And so I took on a role to be more involved with that. Juggling that. But I can't imagine a day where I'm not doing 1,000 things. I know that most people are like, oh, that sounds exhausting. Actually, it's what feeds me and what makes me super happy. So yeah, I'm usually going, teaching, meeting with staff, going to the school. I coach Sharando swim team in the winter. So at any given time of the year, I'm probably juggling, 3 to 4 activities a day, but it makes me happy. So
yeah. So you're leading a team. Mm-hmm. We start a business based on our passion, right? And we're not sure how big it's going to be. Will it just be you solo? Will you have a massive team supporting you? So can you talk about who you are as a leader now versus maybe when you started the swim school 16 years ago, how you saw yourself as a leader?
Well, to be quite honest, up until a couple of years ago, I still didn't really look at myself. I actually had some team evaluations done, and I discovered a lot about myself. But when you first start a business and you're just doing the thing that you love, you don't think about having to do that. Like I think about in the moment, it's me, and I was leading a child in the water to trust me and to do, to do all those things. So I was a leader back then, but in my mind, I was just doing something that I love to do. And even back then when I brought on people to help me, again, life kind of throws curveballs at you. So year 1 of starting a business, I got pregnant. And so I needed help. Mm-hmm. And so I brought people on that I didn't necessarily feel like I needed to lead, but they were my equals. And so we worked together to meet the goals that I had kind of set forth for myself and, this business that really I didn't consider a business. I just still considered it a hobby for a long time. So I, now obviously leading, I go from having a team of 12 people in the non-seasonal months to 90. I have 90 kids that work for me right now on payroll. And so that is ever changing. I have discovered a lot about what it takes to lead different age groups, finding ways to empower people to want to work and want to do a good job. So I've had to, a lot of it has been trial and error. A lot of it has been, there've been some really hard days along the way where you're beating yourself up because you think you made all the wrong decisions. But I've learned a ton, and I would absolutely say today, just by doing it, no one taught me how to do this. Like I've learned almost everything I've gotten and gained as a leader from just doing.
It's amazing. And that's really how it starts for so many. My favorite part of everything that you just said was about leading the student in the water, because I always talk about on this podcast about leadership being about that impact and influence, and you can influence anyone in any situation, right? Any interaction, whether you have a title or not, you're having an impact on that child's life. And so I was thinking about that. And as you think over the years, all the years that you've been doing this, is there a specific moment or a specific child that stands out where you saw them go from fearful to confident right in front of you? You were able to see the impact that you're having? Because sometimes we can't see the impact, right? We're having an impact on people around us and we don't even realize it. But I feel like yours can be very tangible because you see them go from not being in the water to now a confident swimmer. But is there any specific moment that stands out for you?
Well, first of all, when you just sitting here talking to you, I get goosebumps when I think about those little light bulb moments that go off in kids. There's actually really too many of them because, I get a lot of children all the time that are terrified of the water. I get some adults that are terrified of the water, more than I wish that we ever saw. But I don't know that there's one that stands out. I definitely have students that I've, in that leadership role have pushed, because you're right. Like when you say that, when you talk about being a leader in the water, it's such a delicate relationship, because when working with kids in general, like it's a delicate relationship, right? You're trying to get them to trust you and to do the things. So you have to be able to be a good leader in that role. But it's almost more challenging because of the water being a scary place for a lot of people. So it's just interesting that you say that, because I've never thought about that, really honed in on that as that aspect of being a leader in the water. So, but no, I think that there's too many kids really for me to remember. I definitely can recall there's one student in particular where I remember when she started swimming. She was very young, very, very young, 3, in fact.
Okay.
And mom was, it was one of those parents that was like, they said, I don't care how long this takes. And actually all of her children, she's 5, and all of them came to us for the duration of their youth and until they were adequate swimmers. But their second daughter in particular, ironically, who works for me now.
Oh, cool.
So I remember pushing her, and I remember getting her to the point where she was swimming. Like she was so little, and she was this tiny little girl. And at 3, she was such a little, little child to begin with. She was just this little girl. And I can remember, getting her to swim across the entire pool. But I also, that same child, I pushed her a little bit too much one day. And so that can, that's a learning experience in itself when you lose that a little bit too, and you have to come back from that, right? You have to learn how to come back from, having a child trust you, and then you push them a little bit too hard outside of their comfort zone. But yeah, that one in particular stands out for all of those reasons.
Yeah.
She was so young. But that light bulb moment is why I do what I do. Because we get the tangible. We get to experience it all the time. And then not only do we get the excitement from the child, we get it from their parents. And we get to see the relief on a parent's face when their child can float on their back on their own. Or, we get to experience those things all along the way, which, only adds to our joy.
Yeah, it makes total sense. And, I connect with that in my teaching from the past and what I'm doing today. I can see the growth over time with people as well. And it's so very exciting to see. But there's a different aspect of what you're talking about with the safety part. Now, knowing that if my child ends up in a situation, they know what to do.
Right.
They can survive in those moments. So I know you're going to know this off the top of your head. I'm putting you on the spot. I trust that you'll know this. You have mentioned a couple times children, but then also adults. How common is it for adults to not know how to swim?
Oh, I know that. You asked me too soon, so this statistic is not in my brain.
Okay.
It's too high. I'm just going to tell you right now.
It's too high.
Too many adults in our country and across the world. Like, this is not just a United States problem. This is a global problem. Do not know how to swim. And it's even more staggering in areas that you would think, countries where the predominant coast, there's just nothing but coastline. So it's too high. It really is. I don't know the number. I'm shamefully don't know the exact number, but I know it's staggeringly high, the number of adults that don't know how to swim. Mm-hmm. And when you say don't know how to swim, these are adults that if they fell off of a boat in the middle of the ocean and didn't have a life jacket, they would not survive.
Yeah.
Because there's a difference between knowing how to swim for safety and knowing how to swim for fitness. I just want to make sure that that's clarified.
That was perfect, because that's where I was headed next, because you and I have spent a lot of time together in the past, and I know some of this just because I learned it from you. So seeing swimming as an actual life skill and why that's so important based on how much water we have on this earth, right? Can you talk a little bit about the importance of swimming and that as a life skill?
So it's interesting. So, we fight this battle all the time when it comes to, getting parents to bring their kids to swim lessons. Mm-hmm. We are a society of, and I'm, I feel this in my being as well. I have 2 teenage kids who, I wanted them to be exposed to sports, and I wanted them to learn things like, football and basketball and and other things and dancing and whatnot. But one thing that I feel like I could scream from the mountaintops is that your child learning how to throw a football far or dribbling a basketball, those things are never going to learn. Those are never going to save their life one day. Yeah. If they did, I would love to hear the stories about how that transpired, but those just aren't. That's the reality. Is those skills are never going to save a child's life. Mm-hmm. Learning to swim, and not even learning to swim. I'm not asking people to come out and to have their kids learn how to swim to be on a swim team. Mm-hmm. I hope one day they choose to do that. But I'm talking about basic swim skills, like how to, even doggy paddling. We swim instructors don't like to use that term. But even learning how to just get themselves around long enough to buy themselves some time. Mm-hmm. Learning how to float on their back. These are pivotal, or just learning how to be safe around a body of water, just learning key things that can be taught not in a pool. There's so many things that can be taught outside of a pool that we just don't emphasize enough as a society. So, I would ask that parents take that time in the beginning. And I know it's scary. I meet parents all the time that are scared because they may have had a traumatic experience. But we see kids all the time whose parents brave that scenario and bring those kids to us because they don't want the same for their children. Yeah. So it's, but that is why. That is why learning to swim is so important. It should be taught. We don't let our kids just run across the street, right? Who does that? We teach them how to safely cross the road. Mm-hmm. Why aren't we teaching them how to safely be around water?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great point. Makes total sense. So beyond the life-saving skill set, what are all the benefits of being in the water? Let's talk about for leaders in our community. I said that this is something that they're going to be able to apply to. Why should leaders spend time in the water?
Well, it's interesting. We've talked about the concept, the blue mind concept, which is, I know that's something that we've talked about at length. And
but they don't know it.
Well, so for those of you that don't know, so blue mind is a concept. And again, I
I didn't ask you to do research for
right,
today.
but it's a concept that just being in, around, and sometimes even just looking at a picture. I don't, I can look at a picture of the beach, or I can look at a picture of a lake, and there's something it does to me physiologically. It gives me a sense of calm, and that is this phenomenon or this state of mind known as blue mind. So imagine not just looking at a picture of water, but being close to a body of water, or getting in that body of water. There's, just so many benefits. So, take that, move that to the side. Just the other benefits of being around the water. Water, even if you don't learn how to swim laps, like just being in the water, there's so many benefits. We as we age, being on land can sometimes be hard for us. It's a great place for us as we age to be able to continue to move in a way that allows us to not feel all of the aches and pains that we tend to feel as we get older.
Yeah.
Rehab. I just went through I've never broken a bone. I've never had any major surgeries. I tore my ACL last year. Being in the water helped me rehab faster. There's so many benefits, not to mention just life is stressful. We all know it's stressful. And sometimes just being in the water can help alleviate that stress. Like even if you just get in and you run some laps, you don't have to do anything fancy. You just get in and you run some laps or walk some laps or just move in the water. It can the research is out there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of mental, physiological, physical benefits to being in and exposing ourselves to water routinely as we get older.
And it can look like so many things. Okay, so I thought of you yesterday. I saw something that I thought was funny pop up on my feed. And it was a video of this couple at the beach. And while they were standing on the beach, they were displaying motions that you would typically do while in the water. So they were like standing on land going like this, or bouncing on one like foot across
like water
all
aerobics?
the different things that you do in the water as you're just standing there talking to someone, going like this with your arms, right? So doing the things you do in water on land.
Right.
It was so freaking funny. I can see you laughing at it. I need to go back and find that and send it to you. Yeah, it's just fun.
And it's fun, right? Like I can tell you, so I just went to the beach. I haven't been to the beach, just to the beach in a while. And I went to celebrate a friend's birthday, and I get in the ocean for the first time. I swim everywhere I go. I mean, I snorkel and I'll get in the water, obviously, because I love being in the water. But I actually got in the ocean and swam like I was a little kid again. And I dove under waves, and there was just something about it that just, I don't know, it like brought so much joy to me to be in the water in that moment. And I wish that for every person. I wish that every person out there could experience what I feel when I'm in the water. So
what are some of the typical barriers? Like if you're to sit here and have this conversation with me, what do you typically hear as a reason why I can't do it? It's not going to work for me. Why aren't people doing it?
I think there's a lot of really key, like big barriers. One, our access to water. We have lots of, like right now we have access to water. We have a river that people can get in. We do have some, we do have pools in the area, but there's not a lot of options for people. And I think that's a big one. Two, I hear a lot, people don't want to be in a bathing suit. What I would say to you is we've come a long way. There are a lot of things that companies like Speedo and TYR and Sporty, there's a lot of great swimming companies out there. They make really great clothes just that are water, that are made to be in the water, that allow you to cover up if you don't want to be in the water exposed, because there are so many people that just don't want to, whether it's, you're self-conscious about what you feel like, how you look, or just, maybe you don't want to expose yourself like that in a public setting, whatever the case may be. The answer is there's options out there for you. And the other thing is it's time, right? Like those runners out there, we know we can throw on a pair of shoes and walk out our front door and get a good run in, right? That's easy. Yeah. It's a little harder to get the things together and then get to the pool and have the time in the pool. But, if worth it to find and make the time, if if you have a good time management system, you can plop that right into your week.
I was gonna
Yes, those barriers are real, and I constantly find myself talking to, mostly adults who find a hard time. But there are ways, and I assure you that the benefits will far be worth it.
Yeah. No, I think it's a great point. And I remember talking to you before about how you can set yourself up for success and like laying your things out, having them in your car. So if you drive past somewhere, you're ready to like change right away. Just thinking ahead, if you want to make it a priority, you'll make time for it.
Yeah, I keep a bag in my car full of you don't need equipment. Like you don't need to have equipment. And oftentimes a lot of pools will offer equipment there. But I have a bag that has cap, goggles, and a towel in my suit in it all the time. Because you just never know when you're going to get time. To just swing by a pool and jump in and get, even if it's just some water jogging or, just splash around in the pool.
Yeah. So I just read this week another study came out that about 85% of leaders took a survey. They said that they're either stressed or burnt out. And so I'm just thinking about just looking at it, the blue, like, what is it? Blue mind?
The blue mind. Mm-hmm.
The blue mind concept, what an impact that could have, even if you tried it for a week.
Right.
Just to see, like, how does it impact my day? How long do people have to spend? Like, if you're going to the pool, how quickly do you think they'll see a change?
It can vary. And honestly, water aerobics classes have kind of a stigma on them that they're full of, people that are, 70 plus years old. But more and more water classes are out there now for people who really do want to you don't need to have any knowledge to join a class that's in the water. So it varies. Like I can, people that know how to swim laps can swim for 30 minutes and get a really good workout in, as opposed to me. I find that I have to go to a gym and lift for an hour, where I can get in the pool and swim for 30, sometimes 25 to 30 minutes and get a good solid swim workout in. But even water running, even something as simple as water jogging, it can do so much. Again, I don't think people understand just being in the water, the mechanics of how our bodies move through the water, and all of the muscles that we have to use to balance, adjust, and move our bodies through the water. Just like, again, walking back and forth in the pool does so many things for your body that you just don't realize. So you don't need a ton of time. You can get in 30 minutes, change, get out. Like, it's not, you just don't need a ton of time.
Oh, that's a good point. And I was thinking about, feeling like you've used muscles you didn't know you had that you're just not using on a regular basis.
And you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we talked about some like barriers for adults to get in the pool. What are some of the misconceptions that parents might have about swim school that you have to kind of deal with and face and help parents to overcome when they first come to you?
Well, I don't. That's a hard question. I think everybody comes to the table with. I think the biggest misconception is, it's the dreaded question of like how long it's going to take for my kid to swim. It's like an impossible question to answer. Learning is learning. It doesn't matter, what you're learning. We all learn things differently. All of us, adults and children alike. So it's hard to answer that. I think consistency is key. We, at Super Splashers, we offer our families, those that are enrolled, to come and utilize the pool when they're not in lessons for that reason. We want, it's not just about what we do. If you're just relying on one instructor for 30 to 45 minutes a week, that's a big ask, right? Like that's, if you're learning anything new, and I don't know the statistic on how long it takes to learn something new in the terms of time. Yeah. But, the more we do something, the more the faster we learn it. And that applies with anything. So I think that's a big misconception, is that your child is going to learn, in 8 classes or 4 classes. That's just, it's impossible. But again, I think a misconception is that, how do I say this? There's so much that parents can do at home with their children to help the process.
Okay.
And first and foremost, you got to spend time with them, and you got to stop shielding your kid's face from water. Like, we have to stop doing that as a society. I know that they're going to fuss about it. Don't like, it's fine. They're going to be fine. So, but I think that's another big one, is that, that we have to have a pool all the time to be able to teach our kids things. They don't have to, there's so many things that you can do. And that's my goal in some of our lower level classes, is to educate the parents. We always say that the parents are our students in the parent-child classes. It's true. The parents are our students. The kids are the beneficiary. They're learning the skills. So they're gaining the knowledge, but oftentimes they're too little to understand the words that we're saying to them.
Yeah.
So the parents are learning just as much, if not more, than the kids are in those lower level classes. So
it's a really good point about like shielding their face. I actually thought of you specifically when I was giving Caleb baths over the last couple of years, because he's always been if water gets close to his eye, it's the crying and get me a towel. And you have to push through those moments and just like, literally, you're going to be okay. You're going to survive. It's just water, and get them used to it. Because if you every time jump in and wipe their face or don't put water on their face, that it's actually doing a disservice.
You're just creating a bad habit for them, and you're creating a hurdle for them to overcome when you do want them to get in the water. If I may share, it's funny because when parents come and talk to me, I love to share my own experiences with my own kids.
Of course.
Because I had 2 kids that were very, very different. And if I may go back, I have one more misconception, actually, that I think is probably the most important one that I didn't bring up. Just because your child is upset at the pool or doesn't want to do something, and we force them to do, I use the word force loosely, because we don't like the word force, but strongly encourage is a better word.
Keep pushing.
We push them outside of their comfort zone. I think a lot of times parents think we're going to scar our kids. And that actually, it really is. Parents quit lessons all the time because they don't want to force their kids. They don't want to create some sort of hatred or just long-lasting fear of the water. I can assure you firsthand that will not happen, but it's a process and it takes time. And it might take some kids a little more time, but going into what we were just about to talk about, I often like to take my own experiences with my own children. I often say I have to take my swim instructor cap off and put my mom cap on, right? When I'm talking to parents. Because sometimes they often look at me as just a swim instructor, but no, I'm a mom. And I've had my own experiences with my own children, teaching them how to swim. And I had vast different experiences with both of my kids.
Okay.
My son was a NICU baby, so I was terrified to put him in the water so he got a later start than my daughter did. And I wasn't a swim instructor. I wasn't a swim school owner when he was a little baby. So I didn't have the renewed knowledge that I did when I had Avery and, as a child. So, but she screamed for the better part of 6 months.
Wow.
Every day. And I would hand her to another instructor because that was hard for me. But I was also the mom that my kids didn't have a choice. They were going to learn to swim, whether they liked it or not. Yeah. But I have parents that are like that. They're like me, who have swim backgrounds, who know they know and trust the process. That it was not negotiable. Like this was going to happen whether you liked it or not. And we've had to push through. We had to push through all of those hard days where I had to hand her over to a screaming toddler. She was 2. She was probably even younger than 2, to an instructor, and just say, sorry, here you go, and walk away. And let me tell you, I could hear her screaming from my office, because once upon a time where we taught was in a hotel, and the lovely owners of the hotel gave me a spot in their hotel, and cool. I had an office, and it was great. But I could hear her screaming from my office, and that's hard as a parent to do. I get it. I wholeheartedly understand that. But one day she stopped screaming, and their children will stop screaming too. It's just how important. I often say that to parents. How important is this to you?
Yeah. If
it's that important, then just let's push through together. They will stop. I promise you, they will stop. Avery stopped. Now she's on the swim team at Sharando, and she's excelling as both of my kids love the water. So it's, trust, But one of the things that I did with my own kid at a young age was my husband was a police officer when my kids were really little. And Aiden, although I didn't start him in swim lessons, us moms, we need to get in our showers any way we can. So I remember back in the day, I would put him in his bumbo in the shower with me, and water would be pelting him in the face, and he'd be down there playing with his toys. But that's how he got used to having water on his face. But so as once I did acclimate him to a pool, he didn't have those same fear. So I share that with my family sometimes, like put him in a bumbo in the shower. And if you're forced to have to, do that, or just put him in a bumbo and put the shower on your baby, give them the bath, but let them experience the shower water on their bodies while they're in the bathtub safe, and don't, use that as an opportunity to teach you early on.
Yeah. So. I think that's a great example. So is there a certain age that is appropriate to start? So let's say a listener is about to have a baby coming up. When should they start doing some things in the home, and when should they seek a swim instructor?
So the association, or the academy, the organization that mandates our pediatricians. All the leading organizations say that you should not really start till 6 months. I have had students start younger than 6 months. We just don't submerge them. At 6 months, we can, safely, repeatedly submerge them. We only do it up to 3 times a class. But 6 months is really the general. That's when most of our classes start. But there's, get babies, do things with them in the bathtub before 6 months. You can move their legs. You can trickle water over their faces without, the sensation of water on their faces. We were all born in the water, right?
Yeah.
If we could, somehow find a way to channel that from when we were born safely to when we start swimming, would be amazing. But the water is a natural place for babies. So, if you have an opportunity when they're younger, much younger, get them in the water. Just don't take them under. I think the sooner they're in the water, the better. And, don't, take advantage of opportunities to, let water drip on their face so they can feel the sensation of what water is like early on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great advice. So thinking about what you said about like going into the office and hearing her cry, do most parents stay in the space and they're watching, they're right alongside? Is there a certain age where they have to be right alongside? Like, how does that work? And do you recommend parents always stay close by? What does that look like?
So up until recently, we have our space. So we've never allowed parents. So there is a parent-child class where parents are required to be in the water, right? It's a 1-to-1 ratio.
Okay. But
again, those are classes where we're teaching the parents how to hold their kids and work with their kids.
Okay.
And really the parents are the students. Once, just like anything, if you've ever had a child, you know that oftentimes our kids learn better from other people.
Yeah.
That's why my kids never learned to swim from me until they got older. So there is a reason why parents are asked to not stay on deck. We have had a firm policy that we have had a camera system in place for parents to be able to watch their children. Now they can listen, they can hear their kids. They're allowed to turn on. There's a sound feature to our camera system. We are about to make some pretty big changes to how we do things, and now we are going to be allowing parents on deck, which we used to do back when we first started, where we were out at hotels, using hotels and other facilities. We didn't have the means to have fancy camera systems in place for people to be able to watch. So parents were always allowed to be on deck.
Okay.
And so, but we have always stated what I thought was usually obvious. If a child is focused on you, they're not focused on me. And if they're not focused on me, this learning process is wasteful, right?
Yep.
I mean, that is common. That's just common knowledge. So if I have to ask you to leave, there's going to be a reason why, because I want your child to get the most out of the time that they're with us. So there are always going to be those kids that could care less that mom and dad's on deck. Again, it's a personality thing. It's a kid by kid basis. But then there are always those kids that are going to focus on mom and dad, or and it could be good. It could be because they're crying and they want to get out and they want mom or dad. Those parents, we would absolutely ask, we need you to step out until they get comfortable with us and they're not constantly focused on you, because they're going to want to get out. If mom and dad move and are out of sight, we can redirect and have a very successful lesson.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But at the same time, we have the kids that are constantly like, look, mom, look, dad, look what I just did. Like every time they do something, they're looking for affirmation from mom or dad. That can be just as much of a distraction.
Yeah.
So we want parents to be able to watch, but at the same time, you're paying us money to do a service. We want to be able to do that service the best way we know how. So we ask that parents, we're about to let parents on deck, but there will be a need for those conversations to happen more often. And we as instructors are all confident to have those conversations and to make it clear that this is not because we're trying to not allow you to watch your child. There's a reason we're asking you not to be on the deck.
Yeah.
And it's for your child's benefit, not for ours. So.
No, I think all of that makes sense. I thought it would be a huge distraction. I mean,
And I would say 85% of the time it is. There's if I had to guess a percent or like a ratio, I would say 85% of our students are not, they do much better without mom and dad in the room. There's a small percentage that are, but I think there's a lot of factors that play into that too. And so we can't control all those other things. All we can do is control what we can do with the time we have in the water. And so again, we have to have that conversation, but that's a necessity. So, yeah.
So thinking about distractions, I was thinking about adult swimmers, and if this is their first time getting in water, maybe it's uncomfortable, maybe it's embarrassing that they've never learned how to swim. Are they one-on-one private sessions? Do you have adult classes? Typically, if an adult comes to you and says, hey, I want to learn how to swim, what might that look like? We've
tried adult group classes in the past. They ebb and flow, but predominantly most adults have that not fear is not the right word. They have that consciousness about them being an adult and not knowing how to swim. It's almost like, I know a lot of adults that can't ride a bike, and they are embarrassed that they can't ride a bike.
Yeah.
They just never learned to ride a bike, and there's no shame in that. It is what it is. I commend, and I'm almost overly verbal to my adults that call. I have a lady. She is, I don't know how old she is, but she's got to be at least 65, maybe 70, and she wants to learn how to be comfortable in the water. And to see this adult try, I mean, she's an adult that's terrified to walk out into the water because of balance. Like, you don't realize how much balance goes into just being in the water. We take that for granted.
Yeah.
I take that for granted, and I watch this woman, but it's so moving to go and work with this woman at her house. I go and myself. I don't do it through Super Splashers. I do it as Noelle, and I go and I work with her. But it moves me every time I've talked to her and seen her, and it's just so lovely to see her so happy to be learning to swim at her age. But most adults want one-on-one. It's just they're more comfortable. It's more intimate. I'm able to just, because again, and it's delicate for us too, because we're so used to teaching kids that I have to almost, all right, when I tell them we're going to blow bubbles, I have to almost apologize that I try not to make it so elementary. And sometimes the adults, they giggle about it and they say, oh, it's great. It's fine. It makes it more fun. But yeah, most of the time they want one-on-one for that reason.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking about those folks that might make a change based on what they're hearing today. Maybe they're going to try to get in the water for the first time, or they knew how to swim in the past and don't even know if they remember because it's been so long. You gave some ideas of how they might fit it into their day and what that could look like as a leader. You talked about the blue mind concept and how it could benefit them. I want to dig down into that leadership part a little bit further. You know this question in advance because I wouldn't put you on the spot with this. If you could think of a certain stroke related to swimming, so you look at your face, that represents leadership what would that be?
Oh, gosh. It was so easy for me. It came
Okay.
so naturally when I read this, which I told you there, there are some questions that I love being asked that I feel like make me think really hard. And this was one of them, but I didn't have to think as hard as I thought I would have to. So I will use my own experience. So being a leader can be very challenging for a lot of people. And there's nothing more challenging in my mind than the butterfly stroke, right? The butterfly, it looks, when you go to teach somebody the butterfly, and I can say this now because I've been coaching for quite a few years now, it's a hard stroke to learn, right? It's a hard thing. People look at it and say, I can't do that. I can't swim that stroke. I feel like often people say, I can't be a leader.
Yeah.
But then they learn and they pick and they learn the parts, right, of being a leader or being of the stroke of the butterfly. And then the parts just come together and it becomes almost one of the easiest strokes to swim. And funny, people don't know this, but the butterfly is actually the second fastest stroke if swam properly. Some people can swim the butterfly faster than they can swim freestyle. Other people can swim freestyle. Yeah. So I find it interesting because, again, it's that stroke that everyone says I can't do, which is a lot of people say I'm not a leader, which I said I'm not a leader once upon a time. And then you learn and you pick apart the parts and the pieces of it. And then it ends up being actually one of the easiest ones to swim when all the parts are done the right way. And so if you learn all the parts and you put them together just right, it's a phenomenal, beautiful thing, which is similar to leadership. I mean, it resonated. That question resonated with me. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's butterfly.
Okay.
Hands down.
So it's so funny because I didn't know you were going to use that. But I don't know how many years ago, maybe 2.5 years ago, I did this whole video and taught this whole lesson on the metamorphosis of a leader and how much becoming a leader is like becoming a butterfly.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you're right. It takes a while to take shape, right? But then it's beautiful and it flies and it makes it look easy. And I see it all the time with the leaders developing around me. They'll say, I'm a high S. I don't like change. Whatever the reason is, I don't think I'll ever be an effective leader. But then after they start to see the impact they're having on people around them without even trying, then things just kind of fall into place.
Yeah. It's really, I mean, that is the butterfly stroke to a T.
Yeah.
It really is. Yep.
Well, I will have to have that demonstrated for me because I don't even know what the butterfly stroke looks like.
Everyone knows that it's the stroke that Michael Phelps is so amazing, and he makes it look so. I mean, but again, it's like one of those things where when you watch a swimmer swim the butterfly and they do it well, it's like perfection. It's like seamless. It's like they look. And it's interesting too, as a coach, you see the kids that struggle with the butterfly and they look like it's so painful. And I've gotten to watch this with my own child this summer, which has been really cool, which is totally all side note. But it's like it was such a like instant thing for me. I'm like, yes, the butterfly. Absolutely.
That's awesome. Well, I'm going to have to look up videos.
Yes, do. And then give it a try.
Yeah. So thinking about your journey, we talked a little bit earlier about how this came to be. You lost a job and then you took the leap, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm sure that was a very difficult time to figure out, is this the right thing to do? It was very risky. You didn't wait for permission from someone else. You did it. And I see that a lot of times with leaders. They find something they're very passionate about. And when you're passionate about it, you just make it work and you do what it takes to make it work. And I find that you're the most impactful on others' lives when you're functioning in that space. So what do you think is the most rewarding part of building out Super Splashers and seeing that vision come to life?
Well, I mean, obviously, the thing that I do, like not everybody gets to do, we all lead, and we lead we lead different things, but I think it's hard to remove from the fact that the thing that I do is so rewarding in and of itself, without again, we'll go back to, yes, I'm leading every day by teaching, but like the thing that I get to do, that giving the kids the life skill, that teaching kids to love the water, to people to love the water, not just kids. And I think I've told you this in the past, like, that has definitely been a big part of my joy, that has been my success. But I also have found that then oftentimes leading these children years later, again, as an employer. I'm oftentimes, and this isn't something I get to talk about a lot, I don't get to talk about it a lot until I'm hiring or, usually during pool season, but parents trust me a lot, actually, because they bring their crying, fearful children to me, and then they bring them back to me years later to put to work. And I've been so fortunate to be able to lead these kids not once but 2 times. And for me, that has almost been one of my greater accomplishments, actually, is that these parents have entrusted me twice to allow, and I do take a lot of pride in being a first-time employer for a lot of kids, because it's a big deal to kind of set the bar for how you should be treated as an employee, and what expectations you should have as an employer. So that's, I don't know that we get to talk about that. I know that can be a dismal conversation for a lot of people. It's like employing, and it's hard. Don't get me wrong. Being an employer is difficult and challenging. But the fact that I get to do it in the way I get to do it is pretty awesome.
That is a perfect segue, because the challenge that we have from Leadership Unscripted has to do a lot with those that you're employing and leading, and what happens when they're performing well, but you find that maybe they're toxic to the culture, they're causing issues with morale. And I'm sure that's extra difficult when you've seen them grow up over the years, and maybe they become a challenge, right, as an employee. It's a whole different relationship, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to go into Leadership Unscripted. I wasn't going there next, but I think it makes sense. So I'm going to read the exact submission. So for those of you listening to the podcast for the first time, Leadership Unscripted is based off of listener submissions of any leadership challenges, scenarios that they might be facing, just to get some feedback from our guests and have some open conversation about, like, what would we do if we were in that situation. So today's says, there's someone on my team who's great at what they do, but toxic for morale. How do I lead through this without causing drama? We don't need more drama in our lives.
We do not.
So, Noelle, with that extra layer added in there, thinking about that must be really difficult. But I'm sure you've experienced it before. What ideas do you have? What could they do to lead through this without causing drama?
So, this has happened so many times, just simply because, again, our general demographic of employees is young. The aquatics industry in general is a very young industry. So we have a lot of teenagers that work for us. So this speaks volumes to me in particular, because I have experienced this in quite a lot of ways. And oftentimes in the ways it's worked for us and me I have often found ways in which they can continue to contribute, but maybe not have to be so connected to connected in ways that would allow them to have such an effect on the morale. We the way our business is set up, we don't all work in teams often, which has helped my situation too. Our staff can sometimes be spread out, but through the ability to communicate through so many different medias now, and the way that we've as businesses have changed how we communicate, whether it's some sort of online business portal or what have you. There's still ways that they do connect to each other, but in our experiences, we've just had them do the thing that they've been spectacular at, but done it, I hate to say from a distance, but we've we've put them in positions where they can thrive, but not have an impact on the morale.
Yeah.
And fortunately for us, I have, it's again, because I don't have a team of people that is working, constantly together. It's been easier for us to do that too.
Okay.
So in my experiences, that's what we've done, and that's what's worked for us, and that's what's worked for them to allow them to continue to move forward with what they're doing.
Completely understand that. So I'll take it from you've got to work alongside them every day. What do we do about that? So the immediate thing that came to mind for me is we have a lot of blind spots. And I like to think that people have good intentions and they might not be aware of how their behavior is impacting other people around them. So to me, just having an honest conversation, with care and concern, where you're asking them about their behaviors and how they think it could be impacting the people around them, so you can bring awareness to it and reflect on it. I think their response in that situation will be very telling as to whether or not they really want to change and positively contribute to the team, or if they're going to continue to be a challenge.
Sure.
I feel like the Erica in me would say you also have to document, right? So, document the impact that it's having. Are people coming forward saying things? Like, what are you seeing happen? And honestly, I said this to a team earlier today. I was doing a class online with. I think culture is so important in any team, and honestly, to me, is more important than the exact skill set. Coming to the team with a skill set isn't always necessary. You can teach the skill. You want good people that fit into your culture, and so if you have made it very clear what the expectation is and you've talked about consequences and they're still not changing, then I think that's everything you need to know, that they're not a good fit for the team, and it's time to do something about it. I have seen leaders really enable the behavior before. So sometimes I feel like we have to step back and say, have we been doing something to contribute to this? Have I been allowing this to happen?
Absolutely.
How am I reinforcing it without realizing it and kind of taking responsibility too? So I see a lot of things that could happen, but I think it all starts with just an open conversation about, what impact are you having? So it's interesting because we have the two different perspectives of the opportunity to kind of pull them aside and have them do things. I don't want to say isolate them, but more in isolation, so it's having less of an impact on the team. Not every business is going to have that scenario and the opportunity to do that. I see some teams that they have to collaborate on every project and they're sitting in a room together every day, and that person is impacting productivity, and so much more. Yeah.
Well, I will say, in this scenario too, at least with our experience, I'm going to touch on something you said. I think, and I've said this in every staff meeting, every season meeting, every in-service, like with my lifeguards.
Yeah.
There is nothing more important than communication. Hands down. Communication is our biggest asset, and our ability to be able to we don't even have to be super amazing communicators, but we have to communicate with each other.
Yeah.
So in my scenarios, those conversations absolutely have to take place first. Yeah. And I'm an advocate because I love talking. If anyone knows me, that's like I love to talk. And so I have no problem and oftentimes use it as an opportunity to teach, because I am dealing with such a young demographic of people that they, we all, I hate to say it, but we know how communication skills with, young people are these days. They're kind of lacking in a way. Yeah. So I use it as an opportunity to teach them how to help, I'm trying to help them be better communicators by communicating with them in the first place.
Yeah.
But ultimately, again, yes, I agree with you hands down. If something doesn't change though, but if my situations are usually different too, because it's short term or, this is a stepping stone for something else. So I have I don't want to call it a luxury, but it is short term typically because of our industry. So I don't have, but I do have people on my team that are long term, and I have to, the culture that I instill, even in my own, it's not even I am my workplace, right? I am the workplace. So even if they don't have to to interact as a team, they still have to interact with me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just as important as them interacting with the team oftentimes. So,
yeah. No, that's great feedback. And I love to hear that you're taking advantage of the teachable moments, because you really, when I think of the adults that are behaving poorly in a work setting, like, I have to think that they must not have been taught what was right. Like, what has happened to lead to this moment?
Right.
What have they not been exposed to before? And to me, it is a teachable moment. And that's why I always give the benefit of the doubt and have the conversation first, because they might have great intentions and they can't see it. They're overwhelmed. They're dealing with something outside of work. You just never know what someone's going through. And might be taking it out on other people around them. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Great conversation. Hopefully that's helpful to our listeners. Hopefully we have more than one today.
I hope so.
Okay, so we always end with a branching out challenge and leader in the wild. So 2 components here. Let's do leadership in the wild first. Who have you seen leading well that you want to call out? It can be someone that you've never met before, or it can be someone you know and you've seen them in the last week.
I might get a little teary-eyed with this one, actually, because
that's okay.
My daughter she's 15, and I know she has amazing traits, but she hasn't always shown them as a daughter. You know, moms and daughters have tough relationships, but I do see a lot of wonderful leaders, and have seen a lot of wonderful leaders in my life, and I think a lot of them have attributed to why or how I turned out today. But I'm gonna give this one to my girl. My daughter Avery is a wonderful volleyball player. She loves volleyball. But we decided to take her travel season off last year, and she struggled with that a little bit. So I asked her, I said, let's play, let's have fun. Let's do something completely fun, and let's go play rec volleyball. It was like the last season she could do it at her age. And so we decided to sign up for Winchester City. Naturally, her mom was the coach, because, I can't turn down a good coaching opportunity. And so she, of course, had 2 years of travel experience. So some of these girls had never been on a team. They never played a lot of real volleyball before. And I have to tell you, to watch her step up in the role that she stepped up, it could have gone one of 2 ways. But she was such a leader on that team, and she oftentimes took over my coaching position. And but it was really, it was such a wonderful thing to see that, and it hit me, because maybe she had picked up bits and pieces of what her mama has done on a daily basis for the last 15 years. But it was, and to see the parents of the other girls come to me and say the things, just how happy they were. Several of them had said this was the best best sport season that their daughter has ever experienced.
Wow.
And I would like to think that had very little to do with me, and everything to do with how much she stepped up and was a leader of this team. So, in thinking about that question, I had a lot of people go through my mind, but that one kind of hit me pretty hard. So kudos to Avery Callas, because she really stood out as a leader this year for me. So yeah.
You should be a really proud mama.
You've
modeled well.
I am.
For sure.
So.
Okay, so mine this week, I was thinking about the co-chairs of the ambassador program at the Chamber. So for those that don't know about the ambassador program, so it's totally voluntary, and a lot of chambers have these roles. But basically, you are representing the chamber. You're checking in on chamber members. Are they getting the most of their membership? And really getting feedback. What can we do to make sure you're getting the support you need and it's worth your time and money? And so a lot of times when people come to visit your business, you think that they're selling something to you, right? So it can be difficult to help people understand, no, you've already paid for the thing. Like, we just want to help you. But we have a wonderful group of ambassadors at Top of Virginia Regional Chamber. But 2 co-chairs stepped up. So we have Kyle Holman. I don't know if you know Kyle.
I know his wife. I don't know Kyle very well. I know his lovely wife, Susan, who is my spin instructor, and she's amazing. So
Aww.
I don't know. I've never had the luxury of meeting Kyle, but I know who he is.
Okay. And then do you know Mark from TWG?
No.
So, okay. So both of these gentlemen stepped up and have been so very supportive, because I was carrying a lot of weight with the program, and like facilitating the monthly meetings and trying to keep people engaged and what can we do to improve it, and going to all the events, and representing the ambassadors. So it's a lot. And I will say they stepped up to help, but also they're spending time out in the community helping chamber members, not getting paid to do it. It's truly just to benefit other people. And so to give time and energy to just going out and trying to make a difference and support the chamber that has helped grow our businesses, I think that really is key, and doing something not to just get something out of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So volumes. All the ambassadors are great, but I just want to recognize them, especially for their support. There have been months that I haven't been able to attend the leadership meeting or anything, and they always step in. So it's been great. I just wanted to point that out. All right, closing out.
Okay.
Sometimes it's the most important part, honestly, because it's the part that's actionable. So what do we want to leave them with? The branching out challenge. So I see a couple of conversations that went on today. I see us really focusing on the importance of swim safety, swim instruction for youth and adults, right? But I also see this connection to leadership and how important it is for people to see this as an option for them, to release stress and anxiety from their lives, both personally and professionally. So I'm going to kind of give you the opportunity to give me two different challenges. What is one action you want to see people take based on what they heard today, whether it's supporting their child with swim or as a leader, how they can apply what they learned?
Honestly, I don't know that I even need to give you two. I think everybody,
Okay.
what I would love for everyone listening and those that listen to this down the road is to just take a second and evaluate where there's water in your life right now, or when was the last time you were by the water, or when was the last time, just just take a moment and evaluate that for a second, and then find a way to incorporate that into your life somehow. So if you are a parent, whether it's with Super Splashers or one of the other programs in the area, find a way to get those kids into some sort of water safety program. Take some time to talk about water to your family at home. If you're a leader, find a way to incorporate something water related, whether it's, go down to the river and walk along the water's edge, or, go to Lake Frederick and kayak. I mean, there are resources out there for you to be exposed and be around water without having to spend anything or, really go too much out of your way. So, but that's really the thing I would challenge everybody, because I do, my vision, if you will, in the big scheme of things is the fundamental love of water, and establishing that in all people. I said this earlier, I want people to get the same emotional tugs that I get when I'm around the water.
Yeah.
I think people are missing out. I think, and again, yes, that looks different to a 2-year-old. I want kids to be safe around the water. I don't want to hear another story. There should never be another article of a child who lost their life because of a drowning. That's just, it should not happen. It should never happen. And we have the means to prevent that from happening. Everybody, we have the choice to make that not happen. But I would just challenge every person listening to just take a moment and say, where can I do better when it comes to water?
That's awesome. I love that you're also having people think about their last time they were in water or interaction with water. I was at a meeting yesterday, and Nicole Myers, who's a travel advisor, was doing a presentation. She had us close our eyes and think about, a time that we went on a trip we really loved, that really stuck with us, made us happy. And immediately I pictured myself on the beach with my mom.
Yeah.
And I wonder how many people in the room saw a body of water,
Me
in
too,
their
actually.
vision.
I'm curious how many people. Yeah.
Maybe I'll have to survey them for you.
Yes. But yeah, no, it's. Yeah,
It really does make a difference.
It does.
So, and thanks for re-inspiring me too. you are having an impact in this community. I'm blessed to know you. I know so many people are. Thanks for everything that you do to teach the children in the community, but just spread your passion so people can feel what you feel when you look at the water.
Well, thank you for helping enable me to do that. So
yeah, of course. So I want to know, how can people find you? What's the easiest way to find you?
Well, you can find me online. We have a website. It's ssaswim.com or Super Splasher Aquatics. Didn't really think about the name being so long when I created it. I was like, all of our contact information is online. Our swim school is located in the Delco Plaza. For those of you that don't know, there is a pool in the Delco Plaza. It sits right in the middle right in the middle of the mall. We're actually at the back of the mall entrance. For those of you who've lived in Winchester for a very long time, there used to be a $2 theater there.
I remember that.
Fun fact. But that is where we are. We do have our hours are posted. We do have some wonky kind of hours, but you can call us, email us, find us on Facebook, Instagram. So we're there. We're waiting to hear from you.
Great.
So, yeah.
Was there anything you wanted to share today that you didn't get the opportunity to?
No, I don't think so. This has been wonderful. I really appreciate you having me on and sharing I do truly love what I do, and I love sharing my passion of the water with people. So thank you so much.
Happy to have you.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for sticking through to the end of the episode. I hope you found value. I hope you share this episode with others so that you can spread the word about the importance of getting in the water, getting exposed to water, no matter what age you are, that it's truly a life skill, as Noelle shared. Hopefully you've also applied it as a leader, as a professional, and you consider how you can incorporate water into your life as well. Thank you for joining us today. As always, a new episode drops on Friday at noon Eastern Standard Time, so be sure to subscribe so you get those notifications, and submit your leadership questions and scenarios to us. You can always email us at info@branchingoutpodcast.com or visit our site at branchingoutpodcast.com. Thank you so much. I hope you found value in today, and until next time, keep branching out.